Hey everyone, it's Barbara Ann. Welcome back to my channel, Straight Out of Context. Copyright disclaimer. Under the Copyright Act of 1976, I am within my full legal right to share these following clips via video and audio. The following creators allow reshare, redistribution, and download of their content, and as always, I credit in the description box down below. Fair use, public domain, TikTok third-party license, and TikTok Live automatic third-party license for the use of commentary, reaction, teaching, news reporting, research, comment, and criticism. I am legally within my basic human, civil, and constitutional right to share under the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. To share my expressions, views, thoughts, opinions, feelings, and critiques. The First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution guarantees my freedom of religion, freedom to exercise of, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, free assembly, and the right to petition the government and air my grievances. The First Amendment does not cover lies that amount to defamation, slander, libel, harassment, stalking, cyberstalking, bullying, cyberbullying, threats, or any other verbal crimes.
Hello, my name is Kate, and if you don't know who I am a survivor of Munchausen syndrome by proxy. I had a healthy leg amputated when I was 16 years old. There are some misconceptions I see a lot where people talk about the medical records. So the thing about medical records is I don't know why people are expecting doctors to flat out say it's Munchausen syndrome by proxy and that it's all lies, but they're doing the surgery anyways. That's absurd. Like, of course they're going to document that they believe these diagnoses, like they believe that they're documenting they believe that to do the surgery. A doctor can't put in there, her leg is completely healthy, so I am going to cut it off. Like, obviously not. But if you look, the thing that proves Munchausen is the inconsistencies. So like for me, one doctor called it a scar, one doctor called it a chronic heel wound, a doctor called it an ulcer, and a doctor called it a callus. So a callus, an ulcer, a scar, and a chronic wound. Obviously, those are all four different things. So it was a scar. It was a callus that was basically a scar that happened, I guess, when I was 2. Originally, is what I was told. I never saw a doctor from 2 to 9 until I got put in a wheelchair for absolutely no reason and I could walk fine. The thing people are missing is I was active. So I was a junior firefighter. I was in the color guard and marching band on my feet all day, every day, especially during band camp. So I am not disabled. I am not clumsy. And if you read the record of the day they decided to schedule my amputation, they said that I fell, I hit my foot on the wall, which reopened the wound, and I had chronic pain, so they're like, let's go ahead and be rid of this situation and cut off her leg for chronic pain. Well, obviously, I hit my foot, so the wound opened, or so it was said, and that would have healed. So I didn't have diabetes. I don't have any problems with wound healing. I've had several surgeries as an adult. Wound healing is not my issue. I had a mom issue. My mom would pick up my foot, clean my wounds improperly. My mom would make sure the wound did not heal, or she would reopen it. So, you know, she's lying about how this would reopen. But they amputated my leg for chronic pain, and I didn't actually have chronic pain. And this was something that was on my heel, but they amputated my leg below the knee. I just want to kind of break the stigma where everybody is expecting medical records to flat out say that the parent is lying and the doctor is doing the procedures anyways, because that doesn't make any sense. That's a huge liability for them to be like, yeah, they're lying, but I'm still going to do this procedure anyways. Like, you have to understand, you have to take multiple records and you have to look at the inconsistencies of the records. That's why I have shared the records and I have shared the pictures to show that the pictures don't match the records and all the inconsistencies of the different diagnoses that I was given, and it all didn't add up at the end of the day when my leg was amputated for chronic pain. So I hope this helps just bring some education on it.
Gypsy, Bree, Kristin, I can't blame none of them for what has happened and transpired, to me. because I'm the one that posted the content. I made that choice, so it's my fault that my life's a mess now, because I chose to put that out. I chose to put myself in it, and it was really unnecessary.
I'm sure by now you've seen this video. Which probably reminded you of this video.
But once the baby's born, I really feel strongly that I don't want my baby to be in front of a camera. Unless it's for like home movies, I will not be putting my child in the media at all.
Which made me think, let's talk about how Gypsy is using something in the narcissist toolkit called future faking. Future faking is when a narcissist makes a promise with no intention of delivering. It can be something as big and distant as we'll travel the world together, or something more immediate like I'll pay you back. The narcissist will say what sounds good in the moment because they need to hook you so they can continue to manipulate you, or because they just want to look really good. Narcissists need admiration like they need oxygen. It's done to project an image of perfection, which, by the way, is very important to Gypsy while she's on parole. It's what she says in the moment and how she looks that matters, not the follow-through. And we've all seen how her follow-through is sitting on the couch. Gypsy has done future faking so many times. Feel free to comment with instances that you can remember. But here's a couple just to refresh your memory. Remember this?
But with the massive amount of platform that I have, the 6 million followers on Instagram and TikTok, I really want to get into advocacy work. I feel like with that big of a platform, with my story, I think it resonates with people because there's so many layers to my story.
And remember this, pause to read. Future faking is promising you a castle but delivering you an empty lot. Gypsy promised us advocacy and privacy for her child, but she delivered us horrible dance moves and a baby in distress. And her millions of impressionable young followers don't see the problem. How her rise to fame was built on a lie, and how she continues to lie and lie and lie and lie and lie and lie and lie.
So what about, you said the shooting her mom with what she thought was a real gun and turned out to be a BB gun. Was that admissible in court with that whole murder case, or was that something that came out afterwards?
She didn't go to trial. She took the plea deal. So all this stuff was never presented. Because her attorney even said, who is now her manager, he's now her entertainment manager.
Oh,
which is
boy.
weird.
But that's a conflict of interest right there.
Right. He took the plea deal because she would have got life if she had gone to trial. It's a travesty of justice, and it's horrifying because she has all these followers that think she's just the greatest. And these are young women and teenagers, and God forbid they think they have a problem parent and they follow in her footsteps because you can become famous.
Yeah.
See a therapist. Go see a therapist. I have a full plate right now, and I can't donate my time solely to raising a child at this point. And I can't donate my time. I have a full plate right now.
But hashtag scrumptious. Hashtag scrumptious. No straight man in their right mind says scrumptious. But hashtag scrumptious. Hashtags.
I don't know what you heard about me.
Hey y'all. So I know I haven't been on TikTok for a few days. I deleted the TikTok app off my phone for a few days. Had to re-download it back to post this message. But The truth is I have a lot of support in the followers that I have, and I just wanted you guys to know that I love you guys. Just because I'm taking a little bit of like private time for myself and my family, that doesn't mean that I don't care about y'all and care about the support and the love that y'all have given me, and I greatly appreciate it. Because I haven't been on the app for a few days, I'm kind of out of loop about a lot of the drama that's going on in the Gypverse. But what I will say is that whatever drama is going on, I'm not affected by it, so don't worry about me. I am doing good, spending time with my family, spending time with Aurora, playing with Aurora, just being a mom. I have so much happiness in my life to be grateful for that I just felt like scrolling was so much of a waste of my time. And I just need to step away from it for a little bit. And I think that social media is fine in moderation, but sometimes you can get sucked in. And so I did what I felt like I had to do and pull myself out of it. So with that being said, I'm doing good. I'm fine. I'm enjoying my life. I'm enjoying my family. I'm just living real life. And that's where my head needs to be at. So I'm doing what's right for me. And just know that I do still care and love y'all. Thank you so much for all the support that y'all have given me. I have not forgotten about y'all. I just needed to take some time away for myself. I'm not tripping over the emails. I was in my 20s. I mean, how would everybody else feel if their personal diary was released to the public? Like, I'm sure we've all done embarrassing things that we regret. But like I said, I was in my 20s. I'm not the same like I was back then. I did some stupid stuff, yes. Do I do stupid stuff now? Yes. But it's all about growth. It's about learning. It's about maturing. And maturing takes time. And that's what I'm doing for myself. I'm growing. And I'm doing what's right for me. So, thank you for all of y'all's support. I love you guys.
Okay, there are several statements there that are inaccurate. They're lies. First one is that she deleted the TikTok app. She took a screen recording of her deleting the TikTok app off of her phone, not permanently deleting or deactivating the account, in which she had to put the TikTok app immediately back on the phone to log back in to post said screen recording to the stories. And then the very next day, she was in the comment section, and the very next day, later on in that night, she changes her profile picture. The day after that, she changes the profile picture again, scrubs her Instagram, scrubs her TikTok, all the reposts, a lot of the posts. So she never left TikTok, and yes, she has been very active on there. She just hasn't posted anything new to make it glaringly obvious. But the reason why she made this video isn't to say, oh, I love all my supporters, whatever ones are ignorant enough to still support her. She made that because Into the Weeds podcast in 1980s Millennial Commentates has been reading over 1,000 pages of emails while she was incarcerated. Now, I did stupid stuff in my 20s. Gypsy Rose Blanchard was 24 years old when she committed her crime. She was just shy of her 24th birthday. Now, while she was incarcerated, all the way from 24 years old to 32 years old, she was ward of the state because she committed first-degree premeditated murder despite taking a plea deal for second degree. Those communications were obtained legally through a Freedom of Information Act request, the Sunshine Law. She may want you to believe that she was in her young 20s and that she just did and said stupid stuff and that this is a private diary. This is not a private diary. She was ward of the state in the state of Missouri. She was incarcerated, and these are communications which they monitor. You don't have the right to privacy when you're incarcerated for a heinous crime. Not to mention Gypsy's behavior while incarcerated. She violated many times for trying to send explicitly, photographs, videos, things like that, as well as messages to men. She was pen paling with men like pay pigs, and the whole femdom thing with a financial twist, as I said, to elicit money out of these people, playing on their sympathy and their emotions. Emails from her dad to her, where he clearly says, if your mom would have just let you date, none of this would have happened. Rod also said the same exact thing on HBO's Mommy, Dead and Dearest, and he said something very similar to that in the Prison Confessions of Gypsy Rose Blanchard. How do you kill your mom? How do you kill your mom? There has to be some kind of abuse there. You don't just kill your mom because you want to run off with the boyfriend. Rod told you everything right there in that sentence, but he also goes on to tell you even further that her mom had to have been making her fake her own illness. That's not Munchausen syndrome by proxy. In fact, it's over 86% of all real Munchausen syndrome by proxy don't even survive it because they end up passing away, largely before the age of 10, because the person is so compulsive and sick. And a lot of them like to inject things. And when they induce that kind of illness and sickness, their child is young and they don't have any idea. They have no idea what's happening. And they get so sick that unfortunately they lose their life. Now, that's not all cases, but a vast majority of them. The proxy did not survive. They didn't make it to 24 years old and healthy and happy, entitled and spoiled. And they certainly didn't know to pretend. Gypsy wants to try to downplay this like a personal diary. Well, when you're ward of the state, you don't get a private diary. And this proves that, because in this, she is the source for TMZ, and this is October of 2023. Gypsy Rose Blanchard was 32 years old, and this was 2 months before she was released on December 28th of 2023. What this email proves is that she broke her NDA with Lifetime to talk and be a source, the direct source for TMZ. And a big chunk of her money today comes from her long-standing relationship with TMZ. If you read through all of these emails and you don't see exactly what people have been telling you for almost 2 years, well, I'm not the type of person to say, see, I told you so. But as I said, you don't only have rose-colored glasses on, you have blinders on and wool pulled over your eyes, because you are being beyond willfully ignorant at that point. Gypsy wasn't good at committing a crime. She didn't even have the balls to do it herself. And she wasn't good at covering it up either. She was caught within 4.5 days. As smart as she wants everybody to believe that she is, she's not good at lying either, because she's been clocked left and right since the moment of her crime. She's been caught in thousands of lies by hundreds of people. If that fact in and of itself does not concern you, I don't know what ever will. But her putting out information to other strange men while she was incarcerated about her legal husband. Her and Ryan Anderson married in 2022. She's talking crap about her husband, Ryan, who was nothing but good to her, loved her, took care of her. He was good enough to give her commissary money. He was good enough to drive all the way up there to visit her. He was good enough for her to be paroled to. But this right here, I'm not even going to talk about this. You have to pause to read this. This is Gypsy talking to some man. And what she says about her husband, Ryan, I can't tell you if this is true or not, but Ryan is going to have to consult with his lawyer and figure out whether or not he's going to address this or not, because this is a serious, very serious allegation. And if this is false, then I'm just going to say it. Gypsy deserves to rot in hell. But even if it's not true, Gypsy Rose Blanchard would be shit without her mom, still today. Everything she does is off her crime. That's right. You heard me. I said exactly what I said. Gypsy Rose Blanchard would be nothing, nobody, without Dee Dee Blanchard. Not only did her mom keep her alive, spoiled, entitled, till she was almost 24 years old, Every single thing that Gypsy Rose Blanchard has today is because of her mom and the blood money she makes off of her mother. Nobody would have known who the hell Gypsy Rose Blanchard was because she can't stand on her own 2 feet and make anything of herself. She didn't when she was a local celebrity in Springfield, Missouri, and she hasn't today for being a convicted murderer. Even when she was known locally in Springfield, Missouri, it was all based off of a lie. She was pretending to be a paraplegic with her mother for sympathy, for financial gain. And today, she's doing the same exact thing with a twist. She just took the mother out of the equation, quite literally. It's not about accountability. It's not about remorse. It's not about rehabilitation. It's about fraud, scamming, lying, exactly like she always did. And I have always had that opinion since October 12th of 2023 when I did my very first video with my unpopular opinion about Gypsy Rose Blanchard being granted parole and being released later that year. She has displayed over and over and over again disregard for safety, for privacy, for laws, for any morality. And Gypsy has been caught in thousands of lies by hundreds of people. The truth is, Gypsy Rose Blanchard killed her mom because her mom didn't let her have a boyfriend and take off with strange men from the internet. The truth is that Gypsy Rose Blanchard is not perfectly healthy. She was born with microcephaly, strabismus, a very rare genetic microdeletion, which is a chromosome disorder, which she wasn't even diagnosed with until 2013, as it hadn't been discovered until 2008. She also had asthma, severe acid reflux, which is why she had the feeding tube, severe tooth rot and dental issues, tubes placed in her ears twice in her life, and recurrent chronic ear infections. Her grandfather and other witnesses also testified to the fact that when she was just a very small infant, she had sleep apnea because the alarm would go off in the middle of the night when she would stop breathing. The truth remains that Dee Dee Blanchard was never diagnosed with Munchausen syndrome by proxy. She never had an open CPS case for abuse or neglect on a child or adult, and she never faced any kind of criminal or civil charges for abuse or neglect on a child or adult. And now, Gypsy Rose Blanchard perpetuates the same cycle of fraud, lies, abuse with her own daughter, utilizing her daughter to make content, putting her on lives to triple the amount of people in the live participating and actively sending her monetary gifts, using her baby to prove that she's rehabilitated, that she's a mom, that she's living her best life, and that she's changed. But we have seen her words, actions, choices, and behaviors tell us otherwise. At every turn and every corner, Gypsy is grifting. I mean, millions of people on the internet don't call her grifty for no reason. And one thing remains certain, Gypsy Rose Blanchard is worse than her mom could ever be. Her mom might not have been perfect, and she might have done a lot of things wrong and made a lot of mistakes. She may have been mentally ill, but Gypsy is a murderer, and her mom, Dee Dee, was not. I like to have a teaching and learning lesson in every video that I put out. When we look at the United States and the homicide statistics, unsolved homicide, we see that there is over 346,000 unsolved cases of homicide and non-negligent manslaughter from the last 60 years, from 1965 to today, 2025. According to the FBI, that is over a quarter and nearly a half unsolved homicides, and that comes directly from the Uniform Crime Report data studied by the Murder Accountability Project. Let that sink in. In the last 60 years, 346,000 people committed murder and are walking around freely today. That many homicides have been unsolved. And sure, there may be a few people in there that are serial killers, but the majority likely are not. Michigan alone has over 19,000 unsolved homicides. Sure, some of those perpetrators may be deceased now, but Gypsy is not. While Nicholas Godejohn should be hailed a hero, the hero of her story, the one that came and rescued her, loved her, gave his life literally for hers. Gypsy truly can't be bothered unless it's to slander Nicholas's name. Autistic little buttercup, piece of shit, psychopath, he who shall not be named, Voldemort, releasing his private emails. Well, thanks to Into the Weeds, we now have hers. And as I always said, her pointing the fingers at Nick and deflecting doesn't make her a better or cleaner person. In fact, we learned the opposite. Gypsy Rose Blanchard has every incentive and motive to lie, to hide everything she said and did, because it exposes the motherfucking truth, exactly like we knew all along. Gypsy Rose Blanchard is not a victim of Munchausen syndrome by proxy. She never was, she never is, she never will be. But she is a victim of karma, God's ultimate punishment, and her own actions, words, choices, and behaviors. She always tells on herself. You give her enough rope, and you know what she'll do with it. When looking at Gypsy's behavior, words, actions, and choices, we see a high degree of sociopathy, psychopathy, and narcissism. While many traits may be shared, sociopathy is often described as people who have a lack of empathy, a disregard for social norms, manipulative and deceitful behavior, impulsivity and irresponsibility, aggression and irritability. Gypsy has difficulty understanding or caring about the feelings of others. Gypsy repeatedly breaks rules, laws, and social expectations. Gypsy often uses her childlike voice, stature, and charm, lies, and manipulation to get what she wants from people. She often acts without thinking, failing to plan ahead, and taking unnecessary risks. Behind closed doors, Gypsy also displays frequent anger, irritability, and even physical aggression. Even if it's more subtle, unique characteristics of sociopathy in women, covert aggression. Instead of overt aggression, women may use emotional manipulation, subtle sabotage, or indirect aggression. Subtle manipulation. Gypsy is more likely to use emotional manipulation, such as guilt tripping, playing the victim to control others. We see this with her family, her friends, her social media, even using mainstream media like Lifetime or TMZ. Negatively utilizing mainstream media and those closest to her. She often plays the victim of cyberbullying and cyber harassment, even though she and her friends love to do it to others. They even utilize Google and Google Maps to find people's private information to maliciously use it to harm them, which is cyber stalking, cyberbullying, and harassment. Enduring relationships, like being with Ken on and off so many times, even though they are toxic together. Emotional abuse. They may engage in emotional abuse, which is often less obvious than physical abuse. Less superficial charm. Unlike some men, women may not always display superficial charm or a grandiose self-image. However, Gypsy Rose Blanchard does, even with her physical appearance not being aesthetically pleasing, because she has a very rare, serious, severe microdeletion, a chromosome disorder. She still thinks she is prettier than everyone. She thinks very highly of herself, of her image, despite being completely exposed for being a fraud, a liar, a scammer, to the point she will spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on clothes, hair dye, extensions, nose job, cosmetic dentistry, to try and portray what she really feels inside of herself. But her conceit and her condescending nature really shows how grandiose her self-image is. Of course, there are very rare but important considerations: cultural context, comorbidities, trauma, substance use. It can happen, but it's more likely to happen in men. When we look at psychopathy, emotional characteristics, lack of empathy and remorse, difficulty understanding or sharing the feelings of others, and a lack of regret for harmful actions. Egocentricity and grandiosity, a strong sense of self-importance, and a belief in one's own superiority. Superficiality may present as charming, engaging facade, but lack genuine emotional depth. It's my own opinion, and it has been for a very long time, that Gypsy definitely shows all the traits of sociopathy, but she also has all of the traits of psychopathy. She's manipulative, deceptive, superficial with her charm and her childlike voice and stature. She's almost 34 and she is irresponsible and impulsive, even being a mother. Relational aggression, tendency to use gossip, social exclusion, or other indirect means to harm other people. Defensiveness and hostility. She becomes defensive or hostile when her carefully constructed image is challenged and exposed. And the funny thing is, with psychopathy, she doubles and triples down on it instead of trying to change and get help. Let's look at the behavioral characteristics. Pathological lying. May lie habitually, even when there's no apparent benefit or reason to. That is Gypsy. Self-dramatization and histrionics. May exaggerate their emotions and create drama to get attention or manipulate others, especially on camera. Chronic self-criticism. Obsessively focus on maintaining a specific image and may engage in self-criticism when that image is threatened. Thrill-seeking and impulsivity in relationships. May engage in risky behaviors or seek out intense experiences in their relationships. Maintaining a victim stance. May portray themselves as victims to avoid responsibility for their actions, words, choices, and behaviors, or to gain public sympathy and a cult-like following. Focus on maintaining an image. May be highly preoccupied with how others perceive them. Constantly on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Constantly obsessed with searching her own name, seeing what's going on in the true crime community, and seeing what people are saying about her. 365 days plus 193 more. Gypsy Rose Blanchard is the poster child for sociopathy, psychopathy, and narcissism. There is not a single trait that she does not have. And the worst part of it is that the prison system failed to appropriately and properly diagnose her and treat her. With women, psychopathy can have a subtle presentation. Relational aggression. Not all women are psychopaths, but Gypsy Rose Blanchard is. I'm sure one day if she had a brain scan done or was properly diagnosed, she would find that out. But that would first require her being honest and going to a professional expert. Intensive psychotherapy multiple times a week for life. Cognitive behavioral therapy. Psychopathy can also be coupled with other things, other mental illnesses, or other cluster B personality disorders. Narcissism in women, like men, involves an inflated sense of self-importance, a need for admiration, and a lack of empathy. However, female narcissists may exhibit these traits differently, sometimes appearing more emotional and sensitive, and often displaying a need for validation and admiration, sometimes disguising a focus on physical appearance. They also engage in subtle manipulation tactics to maintain their perceived superiority. I don't know how many times Gypsy Rose Blanchard has been knocked off of her high horse and taken down several pegs, but she still has this weird sense of she's better than everybody. She's more important. She's a worse victim than every other victim and survivor. The truth is, Gypsy deep inside knows she's not good enough. She knows she's a liar. She knows she scammed everybody and defrauded society, her supporters, her friends, and her family. She's deeply fragile and insecure inside because she knows she's not good enough, and she knows she's not deserving of the platform that she gained through fraud, lies, a false victim narrative, and manipulation. But the disturbing and heinous part, besides her crime, is the lengths she will go to use her crime to maintain that false sense of superiority. She doesn't have any talent. She's not an artist, a singer, a dancer, an actor. She's not a doctor, a nurse. She doesn't give her time to those in need. She can't even be bothered to buckle her child appropriately in a speeding vehicle. And she will do everything she can to try to convince those 9.5 million followers that she truly is just a poor victim trying to live her life and make the most out of her second chance. But nobody follows Gypsy because she's pretty. Nobody follows her because she's talented. Nobody follows her because she's a good human. People only follow and watch her because she's not. She's not any of those things. It's like watching a car accident. You can't look away. But the burn and crash that Gypsy is experiencing is her karma for her own actions, words, choices, and behaviors. All we are doing is documenting it and giving our opinions on it. Gypsy is not in her healing era trying to copy Taylor Swift because she's so unoriginal for 3.5 decades. That's what she has to resort to. She's not healing because there is nothing to heal from. She's not a victim of anything except for her own bad choices and crime. And we see she has all of the traits of narcissism, lack of empathy, excessive need for admiration, especially on TV, on streaming services, on social media apps that are popular with children. She has a strong sense of entitlement that she took her own mother's life and then lied about Nicholas Godejohn. That's how entitled she is. She thinks that she blew up because she's cool, but she blew up because she's hated. And people really are astonished and cannot believe just how ignorant somebody can be and how unself-aware. She displays exploitative behavior, especially with her own daughter, using her daughter in the media when she said she would never do that. Grandiosity, emotional sensitivity. They lack empathy for other people and understanding for other people and what they've been through, what they think and feel. But she is easily hurt or offended, especially by any perceived slights or criticism. Gypsy certainly manipulates. We have seen that time and time again with Ryan Anderson, her father, her stepmother, and Ken Urker. She just tried to manipulate 9.5 million people on TikTok with a video that she's unbothered by all of those emails when she was 32 years old. She's so bothered that she came to the internet to address it after lying and saying that she left TikTok, but yet she never did. She's been there watching and commenting the whole time, and we proved it. She tries to make 24 hours seem like it's been a year. Gypsy certainly displays emotional sensitivity, manipulation, and a severe need to control everything, all situations and relationships. Narcissists rely on maintaining their false sense of power. But what power does Gypsy Rose Blanchard really have? She's a convicted murderer with a baby. Even Kim Kardashian washed her hands of her and unfollowed her over a year ago. Female narcissists may exhibit more covert or vulnerable traits, while male narcissists may be more overtly grandiose. Emotional expression. Female narcissists tend to be more emotionally reactive. Female narcissists tend to focus on their appearance, like Gypsy Rose Blanchard does. She's more preoccupied with her physical appearance and her social image, and she utilizes social media and mainstream media to help her project that false image. Subtle manipulation. Female narcissists may employ more subtle and indirect forms of manipulation. Relationship problems, emotional abuse in relationships. They tend to be emotionally abusive. psychological distress. People in relationships with a narcissist oftentimes experience psychological distresses. As in Ryan Anderson, he lost 2 jobs because of Gypsy Rose. Ken Urker often snaps at her in public, making Gypsy further able to play the victim card. But what you don't see is the manipulation, the instigation that causes that reaction. Not all women are narcissists, but as I said, in my opinion, Gypsy Rose Blanchard certainly is. Environmental and genetic factors. Narcissistic personality disorder is likely caused by a combination of genetic predispositions and environmental factors such as childhood experiences, like being spoiled, being handed everything, being taught that it's okay to lie, to manipulate, to harm, abuse, use, discard of, and dispose other people for whatever you want from them. Gifts, money, financial gain, a free house, a free car, free trips, meeting your favorite celebrities, singers, actors like Miranda Lambert and her then husband, Blake Sheldon, or all of the actors from Lord of the Rings, baseball players, Disney characters, Kim Kardashian, Dr. Phil, Joey King or Patricia Arquette, or Melissa G. Moore. So if you had any lingering doubts or questions about Gypsy Rose Blanchard having a high degree of sociopathy, psychopathy, and narcissism, I hope that this was not only a teaching moment, but a learning moment for you and me. Do you think Gypsy is a sociopath, a psychopath, or a narcissist? And if you do, leave your comments down below because I'm interested in what you have to say, what you think, and can you name every one of the traits and examples of how she fits those characteristics? I know I could be here for a whole year, but I'm more interested in what you all think, what you all have to say, and the things that you may have noticed that I have not. Because one thing that led me down this road over a year and a half ago was how Gypsy Rose Blanchard and her mother discarded pets. I counted over 30 pets in just under 9 years. Everything from toads, guinea pigs, dogs, cats, multiples of them. They were there and then they weren't. But most people, normal, good, decent human beings, have their animals until they die. However, that is not the alarming case with Gypsy Rose Blanchard and her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard, while they lived in Missouri. Under fair use, I'm going to include this small clip of NPGCN's video. I also linked the entire video in my posts on my community page. However, it's not about what you think or do not think about NPGCN. I just want you to see this part of their video. It's really important to how much Gypsy loved to role play and how she introduced that to Nicholas Godejohn. This video she sent to Nicholas Godejohn while she was in the car waiting for her mother. Her mother going into a store getting her what she wanted.
Okay, baby, so right now, it is me, the shrew, and I can tell you why I'm not filming me right now. It's because I'm too embarrassed of what I'm wearing. It's, I look like really silly right now, so we're on our way home, by the way, from Kansas City. We stopped at Barnes & Noble because I need my comic book, because yes, I do read comic books. I read the Star Wars and Star Trek comic books, so I needed my new comic. Anyway, yeah, I'm filming the dashboard. Anyway, it is me, the shrew, speaking right now, and, so I'll let Demona talk for a little while with me. Here she is. Hey, two sexies. Right now we're at Barnes & Noble, as the shrew said, and, we're getting her comic book. And I'll show you a little bit, even though he doesn't want me to, and of what we're wearing right now. It's really embarrassing. It's like putting a pink bow on a Rottweiler. So, as you can see, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, not cute, right? It's like very dorky. Anyway, we'll say this from the both of us. We love and adore you, our amazing sweethearts, and our amazing kings. We love and adore you both so much. So many kisses from both of us.
Unintentionally manipulative? Maybe, maybe not. But what can't be denied is this. Once again, the Arctic shrew was left sitting comfortably while her mother went out of her way to get something her daughter claimed to need.
Show you where we should do this. Alright, so this is my house right here. I'm videotaping again with my phone to try to show you the best spots. Now, as you can see, the greenhouse is there. And you can kind of see the distance from my house to the greenhouse. That's the big yard. And then they have this foliage that's here. So even if we wanted, we can go like past, like over this foliage, over this like grassy patch right here. And there's a farm right next door. So even if we wanted to do it like in their yard, we could. Because that's very far away and she would never think to look for me there. So that's a good spot. Let's see if I can zoom in on that. I don't know if you can see that area right there. But that's a good area. It's like a patchy, grassy area. That would be good. That would be nice and dark. And again, the greenhouse would be good too. Show you where we should do this.
Ha ha ha, Bree. Eat that. Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Unmute for a minute, Tammy, and see if we can hear you.
Jen, are you seeing this?
Hold on. Tell them to stay there to kind of pull over and stay there. Tell her to tell them to park right there so everybody can keep saying that it's busy right there.
Oh my God. I would die.
So I know a lot of y'all are waiting on my reaction to what was discovered on the Into the Weeds podcast on the emails part 5. And what I decided to do, since I was being told about it in my live and asked to give my reaction, I was DM'd what the situation was. And I know a lot of y'all saw I got really mad and really frustrated at what I had just read because I was not expecting to see that in my DMs. But nevertheless, this message is to Ryan. I don't know what rock bottom looks like for you. I was concerned from the very beginning of how you came in. You know, you writing a prisoner, and the one that you wrote, you keep telling us about how you like her cute voice and her in the black and white checker or black and white striped uniform does it for you. And now here comes out an email saying that you allow, as an adult, 16 years ago, you allow a sexual act in front of your girlfriend at the time's child. So you've come out and you want us to give you our blessings on being on a dating show, when and rightfully so, which is concerning. You probably need to give Pixie to somebody else at this point, because right now I don't know what the hell kind of joke this is or what you got going on. But at this point, everybody needs to hide their daughters and hide their pets, because you was nothing to play with. You just wanted Gypsy to think you were such a bad boy, and now she's got you where not only do you look like a bad boy, look like you need to be on the registry list. So I don't know what looks like rock bottom to you, but at this point, if I were you, I'd go ahead and lawyer up, I'd shut up, and I would seek legal help, because at this point, it's not about saving your career, it's about saving your whole life, everything, for educational purposes only. You haven't found your calling. What you've done is you've given away your blessing. So I know you don't know what it looks like, but this is what it looks like. I don't know if you want to look at what a smear campaign is. I don't know if anybody's ever taught you that when you deal with people who don't have nothing to lose, they will help you lose it all. I don't know what kind of motivation you need to get in order. But at this point, I would get a lawyer and I'd shut up and I'd get off the internet. Don't come asking us no polls. Don't come asking us about what you think you should do. Should you do a dating time? No. Georgia says no. Your auntie in Georgia, I ain't even your auntie, because I can't even begin to put my John Hancock on no shit like that. But you wanted to prove you were a bad boy, and now it's been proven. Now handle your business like a bad boy should before you end up on a registry fooling around with your ex-wife who had nothing to lose.
Okay, so her writing and receiving emails is now a diary. Okay, so my work emails that I get, they're a diary that no one else can read. Get over yourself and stop your hero worship, you unfrosted Pop-Tart.
We need to talk about influencers who post their children online, and they don't bat an eye and they don't think anything of it. And the reason that I'm saying this is because this is a New York Times article that was just published today, and it says AI generated images of child are flooding the internet. The rise of lifelike videos adds to an explosion of AI-produced child material. In the United States, it had said that 845,000 reports of AI generated, including stills and videos in the first half of the year, compared to 67,000 for all of 2024. This means that in half of the year, so where we're at to date, 485,000 compared to all of 2024 at 67,000. This AI-generated content can contain images of real children alongside fake images. You may be wondering where they're getting this. Well, much of the AI content includes real imagery of children blank blank that is reused in new videos and still images. Some of the materials use photos of children scraped from school websites and social media. So while many influencers who post their children online want to pretend like they don't know who is looking at their videos, thinking that it's all innocent while having hundreds of thousands of saves on videos specifically pertaining to their children, and they know that because they can see the analytics of that, they continue to post and they know exactly who they're posting for. And at this point, with as much information as we have, I do judge that. I do, because no child has given consent to any parent videoing them and putting them online. But to know now, because we're way far away from the old days of YouTube where we had no idea and we didn't have the information, we have the information. We know the information. And even if you are simply posting your child with just an image of their school photo, that image can be taken and made into something absolutely horrific. And I don't know how at this point in time with the information we have, how parents look past that. I have seen so many people say, oh my gosh, well, there's so much bad in the world. It could be anywhere. They could take an image of my child from a grocery store. But the reality is that you're handing it to them on a silver platter. When you are posting here and it's very curated content, you are giving that material to them. And I would encourage and beg parents to just think about this. Maybe it isn't something you're really aware of. Maybe you don't know how bad it is, but it is bad. We don't have the capability of being able to remove that online. And the only one at fault at this point in time, if you are the parent who is posting, the only one to blame is the parent. People love seeing true, authentic content, but it has gotten to the point where I have to ask you, at what point is it enough? And at what point are you willing to sacrifice your children to the world of this disgusting behavior just for people to find relatability? You don't owe anybody relatability when it comes to your kids. You don't have to be a relatable mom content creator or a dad or a family content creator by showing the faces of your children. That's just the truth.
This is for my Gypsy crew. If you're not in the Gypsy verse, then just scroll on. This isn't for you. Yes, I went ahead. I know I came on late last night. I went ahead and watched Into the Weeds podcast on the emails. Now I'm just going to go ahead and say what y'all want me to say and what y'all already know. Y'all owe me ice cream. Are we ready to talk about what I'm telling you she is? I've already said what she was. Please go Google sexual sadist. Gypsy is that. Didn't I tell you she says she thinks she's a god? She controls all men, including her man daddy. She uses Smex to control these men and manipulate them. Y'all thought her daddy, who created her, was off limits? Not in Gypsy's verse. Not in the Gypsy verse. No, he's not off limits. Matter of fact, that's a challenge for her. I want y'all to go back and watch some of the footage where you see to do your own research. But if y'all ain't ready to talk about what she is, then we're gonna keep running into these circles. She is a sexual sadist for educational purposes only. Follow me on YouTube. I will insert my page below.
Even Kim Kardashian stopped following Gypsy Rose over a year ago, and it only took one brief meeting and security for her to say, nope, never again. And if Kim Kardashian don't fuck with you, you're nobody in Hollywood. You know what they say, if you haven't had sex with Madonna, if you haven't had a fight with Courtney Love, and if you're not friends with Kim Kardashian, you are nobody. You are nothing. Kitty, Candy, Gypsy, Ruby, Demona, Shrew, Gyp shit, Gremlin, Emma Rose, Gyp. Of all of the names and titles that she's gone by or played, psycho killer, evil, scammer, liar, fraud, just to name a few, are truthful ones. Accurate descriptions of this manipulative piece of shit.
I'm sorry that you fell in love with a piece of shit like me.
Ironic that she calls Nicholas Godejohn a piece of shit, a psychopath, Voldemort, autistic little buttercup. Gypsy Rose Blanchard and Nicholas Godejohn are forever tied in the crime that they committed together and why they committed it together. But the harder she goes after Nicholas Godejohn, the harder she falls. And ironically, the same thing ends up happening to her. But Gypsy Rose Blanchard isn't sorry for being a piece of shit like her. Because if she was truly sorry for being a piece of shit, she wouldn't be a piece of shit. That is a self-choice and behavior that she proactively participates in. She's not sorry and she's not remorseful, or she wouldn't do it over and over and over again. She wouldn't choose to still and continuously be a piece of shit. And this is from the horse's mouth itself. Gypsy is not the survivor of Munchausen syndrome by proxy. She is not the victim of Nicholas Godejohn. She was never abused in the egregious way that she claimed. But what she is a negative influence on young teens and young adults. There is absolutely no way possible, even directly or indirectly, that Gypsy Rose hasn't impacted many other children into murdering their parents or their sleeping mother. 21 cases, 22 that has just been brought to my attention today. And I did lightly cover all of them, including the recent Sarah Grace Patrick case, just from the last year and a half. There is absolutely no way that these kids and young adults did not see anything related to Gypsy Rose Blanchard on TikTok. And even if they did or did not follow her, there's no way that they didn't hear or see about her case, her attention, her notoriety, her fame, her following, and all of these false accolades she's tried to collect, like reality star, public figure, advocate, creator, influencer. And here is some alarming numbers. America has about 340 million citizens. Over 190 million Americans use TikTok. And here is where it is especially concerning when it comes to Gypsy Rose Blanchard being glorified. A significant portion of TikTok's US users are under the age of 15, with some estimates placing this group at over 50 million. One study showed that 68.2% of children under 13 in the United States use TikTok. That is a large portion of kids, very young kids, teens, and young adults out of 190 million U.S. citizens that use TikTok, out of 340 million U.S. citizens total. So when people cover the Sarah Grace Patrick case, much like mainstream media have, it's because she directly reached out to influencers, creators, and true crimers, specifically asking them to look into the case of her mother and her stepfather, seeking fame, attention, notoriety, which is correlated to what Gypsy Rose Blanchard did and still does to this day. She didn't have to follow her, even though there's no way to verify. Of the 137 people that she was following on TikTok, her TikTok has been permanently disabled or deleted since several days ago when she turned herself in. Her father found out there was an active arrest warrant, and he took the 17-year-old to turn herself in, which she did. Mainstream media picked it up. Why? Because she's the one who killed her mother and her stepfather. And this crime isn't new. This happened over 5.5 months ago. She not only delivered a eulogy at her victim's funeral like it was an acceptance speech to her friends, like she was accepting a Grammy or an Oscar. But her overplaying the boo-hoo, pity me, poor me sympathy card for attention while using her victims to do it, law enforcement quickly caught on to this as suspicious. Perpetrators also like to insert themselves in their crime in the investigation and to collect trophies. As you see, she posted the urns of her mother and stepfather. Very similar to how Gypsy once said that she has multiple times asked her aunt for her mother's ashes. And kudos to Claudia for saying no, that nobody will ever hurt her sister Dee Dee ever again. And to all those wonderful, beautiful human beings in this community that helped buy a beautiful urn for her. But one thing Gypsy's not going to ever do is this. I pray that the victims rest in peace and that their family is able to heal. This is why education and awareness is so important, as well as advocacy, so we can prevent crimes like this from happening in the future before they occur. Know the warning signs and the red flags to be able to intervene. This is why people get into true crime to begin with, because victims matter and their voices were stripped and taken from them. To be a voice for the voiceless, to demand justice. And for almost half of a year, nobody knew who the perpetrator was. But soon enough, the world found out that it's a 17-year-old girl, at the time 16, who not only did this, she allowed her then 5-year-old, now 6-year-old sister to find the bodies. And despite what people may say, this couple had 7 children between the two of them and shared. Sarah Grace Patrick does not own the story or the lives of her mother and her stepfather. The same way Gypsy Rose Blanchard does not own the life or the story of her mother Dee Dee Blanchard or Nicholas Godejohn. She does not own their life rights or their truth, their experiences, their life, their legacy, their memory. But what's ironic is that Gypsy Rose Blanchard is absolutely nothing and nobody without it. Her mother and Nicholas gave her everything, including her notoriety, her fame, her wealth, her fake stories and her fake narratives, her freedom, her image, her reputation. And her mother gave her everything, her DNA, her bones, her blood, her body. And Gypsy can try to change her image every single day, 365 days a year for the rest of her life. But she will never change that fact, that inside, she is a cold-blooded killer. And even by way of just being present on social media, she negatively influences others, whether directly or indirectly.
Keep making content.
Thanks for your time. Thank you for watching. Please like and share. Do not forget to smash that subscribe button. I will catch you all on the flip side.